All right, welcome to episode number 54 of the Oklahoma Weather Show. It's been a couple of weeks since we've actually done this, since we have had some busy severe weather days, and they always seem to fall on a Wednesday. Usually when we have a big severe weather threat, we will not record these on KOCO.com, but certainly the weather is quiet for today for the most part. Here we are now, basically in the middle of April. These type of quiet days are few and far between here in Oklahoma. As we know, certainly the threat for severe weather is always right around the corner, and it looks like we're going to have a couple busy days. Certainly doesn't look like a huge severe weather outbreak across the southern plains, but more severe weather today, more severe weather tomorrow. You know, certainly something that I noticed with this next storm system that's coming in here over the next 48 hours is that it's almost kind of taking on more of a late spring, early summer type pattern where you see the dry line go well out into the Texas Panhandle, and you start to see storms develop out near Amarillo and Lubbock, and they almost want to go due northeast. So this is an interesting system coming in here, but no matter how you look at it, we're getting some rain. Shelby, actually, I want to talk to you because, Shelby, I feel like every couple weeks we're talking about the drought and what it's like down in Duncan and down in your own hometown, down in southern Oklahoma. But this rain's been great for them, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been great. You know, I talked to a couple people and said the Lake Texoma levels had come up a little bit as far as the lake levels go. I haven't heard anyone from Warika Lake yet. I'll have to check in with some people down there. But you know, Damon, they're getting ready for summer, starting to warm up, and they're being told they're not going to be allowed to fill up their swimming pools.
Oof.
They're going to have to truck in water or buy water. The city isn't going to let them fill up their pools just out of the faucet or anything like that.
You know, a lot of times we get in a situation where we don't realize how bad the drought is, especially, you know, here I live in Moore and I drive to Oklahoma City every day. I don't pass any of these lakes, so I don't get to see just how low the lake levels are, but I see the grass is green, so a lot of times people would think, well, the drought can't be that bad, but once you get outside the city limits, it gets pretty nasty. We drove down to Fredericksburg, Texas, back over Easter weekend, and even as you go down to Texas, you know, there are certainly some lakes that are pretty low. Stock ponds that you could tell used to have quite a bit of water. They're not looking all that great. And really, if you don't get rain this time of the year, then you're in a world of hurt, because this is our wet season. This is when we're supposed to fill up the lakes just in time for the spring season. You don't get the rains this time of the year, then really, you know, you go into the summertime. It is hot. It's dry. It is miserable. So we need to get the rain in here. Jonathan's just now jumping on. Brad, certainly you've been tracking the severe weather risk. I was a little interested, or not. It was a little interesting when yesterday, Storm Prediction Center went with a marginal risk for tomorrow down in the North Texas, and then we wake up this morning and we see that slight and enhanced all of a sudden go out to the west.
You know, our weather team, we've had that severe weather risk kind of on our extended forecast, I think, ever since mid last week, where we do our 10-day out. And I think we were looking at that low, and you look at the climatology, and you just simply say, hey, it's mid-April, nearing what we learned, of course, just 3 years ago. I mean, 3 years ago, April 12th, a high-risk day, huge outbreak across the Central Plains. That was the Woodward tornado day. And you see those lows and the southwesterly flow aloft, the veering of winds. And I think you just have to say, well, that's a storm situation, just depending on where it sets up. And we saw that, recognized it. And I think, you know, sometimes overwarning is better than under-preparing people. It's always great if you put that out there and then can take it off, 2 or 3 days out. But adding something on there last minute when so many people are planning for days and weeks in advance. I know Shelby's working on October 3rd's forecast already, and so everybody kind of wants to have a forecast way, way out in advance. So I think people would rather know.
You know, actually, and we can talk more about severe weather, but Brad, you touched on something. So, Shelby, got some big news to share? What's going on?
I do. I am checking the weather, the climatology right now for October 3rd because I'm getting married. And I'm really excited about it. Average temperatures that time of year in Thelma, Oklahoma are in the mid to upper 70s.
So we have a location. So the wedding's going to be in Thelma, huh?
Yes, my parents backyard. That's where my brother got married, and big pond in the back with hopefully green grass, depending on how the summer goes. We're lucky our pond is in pretty good shape, so we don't have to worry about that right now. But hoping that the summer isn't drier than normal. Of course, the weather has to play a huge factor in it. My whole wedding and reception and everything will be outside.
You know what you could do? I was at the Oklahoma City Home and Garden Show at the State Fairgrounds a couple weeks ago. You can now put in AstroTurf type of grass. It looks just like grass.
Oh.
So replace it all on the farm and put in artificial sod.
I don't think the cows would like that very
much. They'll get used to it.
The nutritional value in artificial grass isn't that great. Actually, my in-laws live out in Odessa, and there's a lot of yards out there that they dug up all the leftover grass and dirt and just put down sod. But you know what? It's interesting because Melissa and I got married on September 22nd, which is the very peak of the hurricane season. So we were really concerned about when we went on our honeymoon down to St. Martin, what's going to happen. And I was glued to every 15-day GFS outlook that came in, wondering, is there going to be a hurricane that comes in that's going to push us off the island? But October's a pretty time of the year. It can still get a little warm, but the weather is still pretty great for outdoor activity. So now, of course, Shelby, we got to ask: did you know that this engagement was coming, or were you surprised?
We dated since high school. I knew it was coming eventually. If it was going to happen this year or 5 years from now, whoever knows, as far as I'm concerned. But he was acting a little weird. Then he wanted to go somewhere, and I told him I was planting flowers. I didn't want to go, and he made me go, made me clean up and go. So I was like, something's about to happen.
Oh, man. Now, he must be pretty good at holding a secret because he's had the ring for a little while, huh?
Yeah, I hear that you knew he had the ring.
I did. So I cannot hold on. I can't keep a secret. When I got the ring, I probably proposed. My wife is sitting right over here next to me. She's got a smile on her face. But I think I proposed probably like 2 or 3 days later. I can't hold on to something like that and then not. Yesterday, or I bought something you really liked. Yeah, it's kind of like Christmas. Like Christmas presents. When I buy Christmas presents, usually people know within a couple of days that I got them something. I can hold on to the secret.
He's good at keeping secrets. I guess he asked my parents like months ago, and had asked even my brother this summer. So that was like forever ago.
Wow. Well, good gentleman. He's a true gentleman to ask for talk to the brother and talk to mom and dad. So, well, very good. So, we hope that our invitation's in the mail. So, yes. we might have to record the weather that day so we can all head down to Velma, Oklahoma.
That'll be fun.
So yeah. So certainly, talking a lot about severe weather this time of the year. It's been a pretty busy couple weeks. Anyone see the video of the guy that was up in Illinois and he drove really, really close to the tornado? I don't think he was a storm chaser, but that video has been circulating. What are y'all's thoughts on this guy?
We need to. I want someone to talk with him. I think it'd be good. I think you're talking about the guy that he pulls up, he sees the massive tornado coming, then he backs up under a bridge, right? Is that the guy?
Yeah, that's the one.
There are those people out there, obviously, that they don't really understand. And you consider the area, northern Illinois, prone to big tornadoes, but not prone to seeing them very often. See them on TV a lot. So I don't know. I think we really need to talk to this joker just to see what in the world he was thinking. I mean, he obviously risked his life. I just want to think he just didn't understand. It was clearly he had no clue what was going on. No clue.
I think there are a lot of people, Brad, that we're meteorologists, so we think a certain way. We have a certain plan of action when it comes to severe weather, and obviously not everyone thinks and behaves the way that we do. Was obviously, it's not like the tornado just magically appeared out of nowhere. I mean, you could see the thing for a while. If you look at the longer version, I've seen a lot of edits to it that have really just shrunk down the last 30 seconds. But I would have kept going backwards. I mean, when he stopped, I was thinking, no, you need to keep keep going backwards,
Yeah,
buddy.
turn around, you know.
Where you are is not good.
I don't think anybody's going to pull you over and issue you a citation. You know, to flip that sucker around, go the other direction, do whatever you can, protect yourself. You know, I think Damon too. So many times we are guilty of somebody dialing me in here. I'm getting a ring. Anyway, I think sometimes too we are guilty. Can you hear that ringing on your end?
I don't hear it.
Maybe it's just
Jonathan.
me. Okay. So I think so many times too we're guilty of thinking that everybody should behave like this because of this warning or that warning, when, you know, there's just so many times there's some people we're not going to reach, and we can't understand why we're not going to reach them because they're just going to do some wild, erratic things. You just can't figure everybody out, you know.
I had a lady email me the other day. She's from Greensboro, North Carolina, and she's driving out to Oklahoma in May. And she asked, what do I need to do in order to make sure that I'm safe on my travels when it comes to weather and the way out? And I was thinking, wow, this is great. I wish a lot of people would do this. You know, we're still a month and a half out from when she's supposed to leave North Carolina, and she's already thinking ahead of what she needs to have with her to make sure that she is safe. So there's definitely a new trend, because I don't think those type of people probably existed a couple years ago. But with mobile apps and all that stuff now, certainly the ability to get information to you wherever you're headed is there. So I applaud her.
Well, I was thinking too that, you know, Damon, about this guy is that how many people that are killed in car-related fatalities and their phone is destroyed, we would find a video of a situation like that. You know, many people are killed in automobiles. We never often know where they were going, what they were doing, why they were where they were. Were they like this guy trying to shoot a video? If he was one of the ones killed, would we have known that that's what he was doing?
Yeah, you don't know. Don't know. So, shifting topics, and I don't know, Shelby, Jonathan, you all want to add anything to this video that has gone viral in the last week?
You know, there's a lot of talk about, and I know I'm not the only one who's thought about this or heard the conversations, that if we didn't show these videos, people wouldn't be trying to shoot them. And they might actually take their safety precautions. And that's just the kind of thing that comes to my mind. Like, I didn't watch the video because of that. And I know everyone's going to watch the video still, but I purposely didn't because I don't want to support it. If, you know, you don't know what you're doing, you don't need to be out there trying to film a tornado. How do you know what's in your way?
You raise a very good point there, Shelby. And Jonathan, I'll ask you this question. Jonathan, have you ever seen anything online that is kind of, you want to click on it, but you know it's not going to be good, and you don't want to give that person the web click?
Oh, that's a hard question. Can you guys hear me? Because we're working through some audio issues.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know. If there's a specific person that I'm not like, here's the deal. I think YouTube, for example, is a new social media that I don't know if a lot of people are using. It's a powerful tool. And there will be specific people I won't watch their videos because of that, so I will be selective. But as a community overall, you bring up the question, you know, what can we do to? I think people are just curious. You know, they're just curious. They can't help. It's like the whole train wreck mentality. You know it's going to be nasty when you watch it, but people are going to watch it. And there's this one video, you know, all these videos came out, and just go to YouTube and type tornado and in filter put this week. And you can see the most viewed ones. And there's one that's labeled, you know, Rochelle, Illinois, tornado April 9th, 2015. I have another computer here. It's the guy who's on his farm, and you see this beast is just going by. And he's running kind of to stay with it. And if that thing would have turned right and come at him, he would have been gone. He would have been gone. People are just so curious. You know, what's the saying? Curiosity killed the cat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's valid. I mean, it just like that car accident where you're driving by, you're like, I shouldn't look, I shouldn't slow down. But you know, I don't necessarily have the personal convictions or the stamina not to look, not to see the dramatic situation. I mean, that's tough.
I don't want to hijack the topic, but let's take it one step further. I think the serious problem we have out there right now is the chaser convergence problem. And if people don't know, if you're watching the podcast, I assume you know what I'm talking about because you're weather enthusiasts and you're watching the podcast. But for those of you who are clicking or watching on KOCO.com right now, your lunch break, chaser convergence, you have storm chasers, there's going out, you have all these different categories of chasers. You got the researchers, the guys Doppler on wheels, you got the guys who are making money off of it from streaming video, you got guys who are selling the video, guys who are actually calling into the National Weather Service or reporting a tornado on Spotter Network, guys who are working for TV stations, like we have a bunch, and that's a huge, I think, is so important because we have eyes on the storm. It goes directly on TV. It's part of the warning process. But then you got the looky-loos, people who have no idea about storm chasing, and they're going out there and they're getting in the way of the warning process. That I think is the problem. And here, you talk about this. Let me bring it back full circle. These people out shooting video of these tornadoes. You cannot mess with Mother Nature. Even some of the best chasers in the world can get in trouble by getting too close. So I guess the takeaway here is, folks, be really careful. These tornadoes, you have no idea. Those winds in there, 200 miles an hour. Have you ever been in a 90-mile-per-hour wind? It's wicked. Majority of people haven't. What are you going to do when 200-mile-an-hour winds hit you? 200. Let's just say 300. 300-mile-an-hour winds. Your car ain't going to save you.
Nope.
So
not one bit. We've a lot of times, Jonathan, talked a lot about, well, what should you do if you're in your car and you're driving? And, we used to have this whole policy that the Red Cross came out that said, they used to say, get out of your car and get into the ditch. And I thought, okay, well, I'm getting out of my car, getting into the ditch. And then they said, stay in your car, but duck. And then they realized that airbags were deploying and people were getting hit. And so they said, well, make sure you take the keys out. But now the new policy is don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to be driving and you're going to get so close to a tornado that you have no way out. So, the policy is always changing. But, Jonathan, as you mentioned with chaser convergence, I mean, we are one EF3 away. It doesn't have to be an EF4 or EF5. We are one EF3 away from something really, really bad happening. And I have a feeling it might happen here in Oklahoma with as many people that basically come down here during the severe weather season.
I'm surprised more guys didn't get hurt during El Reno, May 31st, 2013. I'm utterly surprised. If you can find images of some guy with radar scope and the spotter network and all the lines. You're telling me more guys didn't get hurt, or gals or chasers? A tornado 2.6 miles wide with multiple vortex with satellite tornadoes. I know a lot of guys. They talked about afterwards, that was close. I cheated death on that day. Well, Damien, you're spot on. It's going to happen again. We're going to have a tornado. There's going to be a bridge out. There's going to be traffic. There's going to be construction. There's going to be this line of chasers. Let's say like 200 cars, and it's one road to get, out in the middle of western Oklahoma. You really don't have a lot of options.
No, you don't.
Here's what's going to happen. There's going to have some chasers. They're going to get out of their car, and they're going to block the road because they're looking at the storm. And then some other guys are going to be driving 90 miles an hour trying to get up to the tornado and not look, and the driver's going to have his head out the window. Hey, look at the tornado. Massive car accident. It is now blocked. And then the tornado turns, and I don't mean to be so morbid or graphic, but it's just a matter of time.
I agree with you, Jonathan. And I think, too, for some of the metro communities from Oklahoma City to Dallas up to Kansas City, the position of the dry line and the climatology of the time of day puts a lot of these storms right in these metro communities right during rush hour. It never seems to fail. Some of the worst of the tornadoes, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., right through these areas. And so it's inevitable that one day another El Reno type of day will occur, and that storm's not going to lift. And that's why, the folks that are watching this podcast, they're not going to be the ones that just aren't paying attention. They're not going to be on the roads during that time of day. We hope not. I mean, we're not going to let our families drive through a metro community when tornadoes are getting ready to touch down. That just doesn't make any sense. We still don't know how to reach these tens of thousands of people that continually just to go about their business like, well, if a storm happens, I'll get under that bridge on the interstate. That seems to be the thinking sometimes.
Yeah. Jonathan, go.
Well, I think Damon, we saw this, I think, with the Moore tornado on March 25th. The messages that you're going to get on your smartphone. How many people have a smartphone? I think a lot of people have a smartphone. And if you're traveling, you get your little smartphone, it knows where you are. Not necessarily true GPS, but your current location based on cellular data is how it does. It triangulates your location pretty accurately, I might say. And you're going to be driving along, and you're going to get a text message, and it's going to say, a tornado warning has been issued for your area. You're like, what? How does it know where I am? It's a smartphone. It's smarter than you are. And that's how it's going to be. And I mean, this is just, we're talking today, circa 2015. Tell me what's going to happen in 5 years. Think of technology, how fast we're advancing. In 5 years, I bet you it'll pop up a radar. It'll show you where you are compared to the tornado, and it tells you which way to get out of the way.
Hey, anything Apple comes out with, I just have to buy. They have all of my money. I still owe them money, but I'm getting that. I've already ordered my smartwatch, right?
That comes in June. Does it come in June for you?
Yeah, freaking comes in. So I do the pre-order April 24th. I'm like, I'm in ahead of the line. There are no lines this year, but now I have to wait 2 months. But listen, I think this thing's awesome. I mean, police laws are going to have their difficulty, obviously, with the no text and drive. Fine, I don't need my phone anymore. I got my watch. I'm not saying I text and drive, but no looking at your watch and drive?
I got to see how a watch is, because to me, I thought watch technology was out a long time ago. But anytime Apple comes out with something, everyone flocks to it, and all of a sudden
this stuff's been around for a while. They just make it better. They just make it better. It just works. It just works. Now, yeah, there's going to be no excuse. Going back to your point, not to hijack, there are going to be push notifications, warning notifications everywhere in every screen we have eventually. You will be able to get this message. You have to be asleep with all the fans on, earplugs in, not to be able to know that something's going to be happening. So I think I don't think we have as much of an issue of getting the message out anymore. How would you not know that there's a moderate risk or a high risk day in your area? But
actually,
you drive down the road, there are billboards. You see the Lamar billboards, storm warning, storm warning. What? You're just ignoring them.
What happened was, after the May 20th Moore tornado, and I was part of this research, and they went out and for every neighborhood home that was damaged from the tornado, they wanted to do some extensive research. And they presented this research last year, but it was basically, how did you get your weather information that day? About 95% or so, it was a pretty high number, got it through either television or the internet. But believe it or not, there was about 2 to 3% of the homes and the people that were in the homes from that tornado that day that had absolutely no idea there was a threat for severe weather. They said that they were caught by surprise, which to me, in Oklahoma, that's I don't see how that can happen.
Well, that's only going to get lower and lower. It's only going to become more difficult, I think, to not know. Yes, the 80-year-old family that doesn't have any technology and but the farther along we go, the more and more screens that get out there, that's going to be harder, I think. Still a ways from that.
Yeah, and this now kind of jumps into our next topic here, where we have to talk about severe weather and probabilities, because everyone thinks that the meteorology is so good now that whenever we say there's going to be an enhanced or a moderate risk for severe weather, that it's going to happen. And of course, this takes us back to last week when we had the moderate risk up in northern Oklahoma. We had a 15% hatched area. That was from the Storm Prediction Center in northern parts of the state. When we woke up that morning, we had a 10% risk that dropped all the way down into the metro. To understand that's the same, actually, waking up that morning, that would have been the same probability that we had on May 20th. A 15% hatched area in northern Oklahoma, that's a higher probability for a significant tornado than we had on May 20th, 2013, or May 31st, 2013. So, of course, we didn't really see the storms that day, which was great, but you have to almost nowadays forecast what is the atmosphere capable of doing. The atmosphere that day was capable last week of producing some significant tornadoes. Of course, we didn't see them here in Oklahoma. We had a pretty good-sized tornado right over the state border in Kansas, and then the next day we had the Illinois tornado. we saw your messages, we saw your tweets. People were like, oh, you all said severe weather and it didn't happen. But we want to make sure that everyone still knows that the science still has a long way to go when it comes to forecasting, but we have to forecast what could happen, not what we think might happen, but what could happen, because it's all about that messaging. And Brad, as you mentioned at the very beginning of this, I think sometimes people, they're totally fine with being overwarned.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, it's tough for us because people go on social media assault after an event. Even if the forecast is spot on and it comes an hour later or an hour earlier than we thought it would, we say 4 to 8 o'clock, we make a window. Storms don't show up at somebody's house till 6:30. You've missed it because they said it was supposed to be at my house at 4 o'clock. No. 4 to 8 o'clock storms are going to occur. So we have a hard time with people perceiving what they think they understand rather than what the forecast is actually trying to tell you. Mm-hmm. There are events that we do miss, but yeah, we have to overwarn. And I'm getting caught up on Netflix, and I'm not, the House of Cards, and I'm trying to watch these shows here and there. I saw this one in the airport terminal the other day, but in season 3, I'll try not to give it away and be a spoiler alert, but there's a storm. There's a hurricane. All the meteorologists call for this hurricane, but it doesn't occur. Now this is interesting too, with as progressive as a show that this is. Even the writers wrote in that, oh, I didn't think every weather man in the country could miss this. So I thought it was interesting. I'm like, aren't the writers of the show up with the times here, that they're more than just men in TV weather anymore, right, Shelby?
You're not weathermen either. You're meteorologists.
But I thought that was interesting. But they kind of always brushed it off. Well, those things happen, So I think sometimes there is this level of, well, the TV weather people, the meteorologists, they get it wrong. They still get paid to get it wrong every now and then. That doesn't stop, though, the drunk guy at 8 o'clock on Facebook wanting to attack Damon Lane because, Damon, you said the storm was going to be at my house at 4 o'clock. It didn't show up till 6:30.
You know how what I've discovered, though, is that obviously in this part of the state, people, you can almost kind of guess the conversation that someone's going to have at the dinner table during the springtime about the weather / the weather guys and girls and meteorologists and everyone that pushes a forecast out on the Facebook, or it's going to be about the Oklahoma City Thunder. And when you're doing well, everyone loves you. The Thunder are playing really well. We loved him. We love Scott Brooks and all that stuff. All of a sudden, you have a couple bad days or a couple missed forecasts, and everyone says, "Oh, trade Scott Brooks." And the meteorologist needs to go. Must be nice, that they can get paid this, X amount of money, and they can completely, blow the forecast. And I would love to invite people to come in and try our job for a day or two. It's not as simple as you think. It's not as simple as you think. I mean, I almost kind of want to compare it to, you have kind of that one angel sitting on your shoulder, and she's telling you one thing, and then you have another angel sitting on your other shoulder telling you the other thing, and it's like, okay, I'm looking at all this information right now. The viewer at home doesn't want a 50-50 forecast. They don't want you to say there's a 50% chance that this can happen, because that's kind of a cop-out. They want you to be leaning in one direction. They either say you got to be leaning in this way or you got to be leaning in this way. And so it's tough. It's tough. That's why you will never see me put a 50% chance probability on a rain map. Anything else you all want to add to this show?
Hey, well, yeah. Here, wait a second. No, I'm gonna go along these lines here. I've got this new Forbes. Well, I guess it's Career Builder or something. Hold on a minute. Well, I'm going to try to do a screen share, and I won't just share Shelby. Let's see. Where is my darn thing? Okay, well, let me just read it to you here, because it said that being a TV meteorologist is number 18 best career in the country to have, right? But it said being a broadcaster is the 197th worst job to have, being 200 being the worst. Garbage collectors have a better job, it said, than a broadcaster does. So I'm not sure if the two of them kind of cancel each other out and we're somewhere in the middle, but it says it's pretty good to be a meteorologist, but it's horrible to be a broadcaster. So that may make it even worse for us. Who knows if you use some sort of strange math. But number 2 or number 3 job in the country, the best, is a mathematician.
That's kind of what we are, though. I mean, I feel like I got a math degree with all the math I had to do.
Yeah.
By the way, worst job, newspaper reporter.
Newspaper reporter. You know what, though? The whole pendulum swings in so many different directions when it comes to the next generation of broadcast and meteorology. You know, where the whole broadcast model, especially when it comes to a weather report, from what we did a decade ago to nowadays is completely different. You know, nowadays we're trying to push information that is so new that you cannot find it on social media, whereas a decade ago, you know, people wanted to be walked through their forecast. They wanted the lows for tonight, then they wanted the highs for tomorrow, then they wanted day 2 and day 3, and we walked, you know, day by day by day. Nowadays, you can go on your smartphone and say, oh, well, I can already get the temperature for the next 7 days, so what do you provide me that I can't find on my smartphone? So the medium's changing, and that's a whole other topic, and I'd like to talk more, but our time's kind of running out. Anything else anyone wants to add before we go into our next stormy pattern? I know next week I see things getting a little active, a couple stormy days. What do you all want to plug?
Baby, I just heard Avery.
Oh yeah, Avery just woke up from her nap. Oh, you're okay. You're okay. She just got her 2-month shots a couple days ago, so she's been a little fussy since then. That's not been good. Jonathan, how's your kid doing?
There were 2 of them. Took one to the doctor yesterday thinking he had an ear infection, and he didn't. Mommy was just being erring on the side of caution, but the other one is recovering from a double ear infection, and we're thinking about getting the little tubes put in.
Oh.
He just turned 6 months old yesterday, and he's been, as my wife says, a crank tart. He's a little cranky, a little irritable. So it is what it is. We've just grown up. Good luck with the teething process there, by the way, Damon.
Oh man,
that's hard.
Oh, don't even I know. It's been tough. Shelby, one of these days.
A long time from now.
A long time from now. We'll give you plenty of heads up. So, well, hey, y'all, it was fun talking, at least trying to get these podcasts back on the, kind of getting them back on a little bit of a schedule here. Of course, these will air on KOCO.com. They'll live on YouTube forever, but kind of a casual show. We'll see you next time.